All right, so in all my years of doing this YouTube channel, doing photography professionally, I have used a lot of cameras. And today, I have found the best camera I've ever used, hands down. It is the Nikon Z9. So today we're gonna briefly talk about this camera because y'all know I'm not a gear review channel. This isn't something that I like to do. You know, it typically takes me like a couple months to get used to a camera, and I've only had this for a couple weeks now, but I've used it quite a bit and it's just blown me away. So I wanted to make a separate video just talking about it, giving Nikon their props, being someone who used Nikon cameras, especially early on in my career, early on with this YouTube channel. It's time to give them credit where credit is due because this is the camera that I wanted years ago. It's the reason I actually switched to using other brands and why I haven't used one of Nikon's cameras in quite some time. So as I'm talking today, I'm gonna show some photography behind the scenes footage of me using this Z9, and all the photos are edited using my preset module from evanramp.com. I personally despise traditional presets because I think they're a waste of time and money for you as a viewer of this channel. If I tell you this was edited with one preset and you go slap it on your photo, you are not going to get the same result as me. That's why I created my preset module to solve that problem. This system allows you to see each separate step of the edit. So you see the tone curve I use, the basic adjustments, the color adjustments, the vignette, any step that I take to edit my photo, you see now in a video like this. So as you see the photos, the formula will be in the bottom left. So if you download the preset module and you want to replicate a look from this video or any other video or anything on my social media, you just have to follow along with that formula and you will get a similar result every single time. And also by downloading that, you support the channel. So I'll link that in the description down below. But quick backstory. So I used Nikon early on in my career, especially when I was working at Epitome and I was doing a lot of social media content creation. When I was shooting every single day, I used the Nikon D810 as my workhorse camera. It's what I built my career on. And as I got more into the YouTube side of things and more into the video side of things, I found Nikon cameras to be lacking. They were lacking in autofocus, they were lacking in video capabilities. It always felt like they were one step behind. And because of that, I switched camera brands. I haven't used Nikon for anything other than my talking head video for years now. Then Nikon reached out to me after they made the Z9 and they sent me this camera with a 20mm 1.8 as well as a 24-70 2.8. And this camera brings Nikon right back to the top of my list. I want to use this camera every single day for one main reason. It solves the problem that I had with it years ago. You see, when I was working with it years ago, I found myself wanting to use the Nikon for photos, but then I wanted to use another camera for video because the Nikon wasn't good enough, and there was always pieces missing. But the Z9 solves all those problems. You see, this is a camera that I can finally see myself going out with and creating the work that I do for 1826, as well as my creative work, as well as client work, and then also using it for my own social media to do videos like this one, vlog style videos, and the big one being Instagram Reel and TikTok style videos. That has been a huge hole in my workflow recently because I just have too many different tools that I'm using for too many different things. And finally, Nikon has given us something that does everything. It's the only camera you would need in your bag. Now, the spec list on this camera is just off the charts. I'm not going to bore you by reading it. I'm not overly technical anyways. But one thing that blew me away about this camera was the autofocus in video. Nikon has finally fixed this problem. And maybe they fixed it with previous Z cameras that I haven't used, but I was very impressed by this. And I was also impressed by the fact that you could get ProRes internal 10-bit with this camera. And I had no issues with any freezing, any overheating, or anything like that. The camera was also extremely fast when I was out making photos. It had no issues writing files. It had no issues keeping up with even the most intense portrait shoot that I was doing with my friend Kareem. And you're gonna see those photos come up later. I accidentally shot those in JPEG, typical new camera mistake. But I don't want to harp too much on all the specifics of this thing and like individual details. You can go read the specs for yourself. I was just blown away by the fact that this is finally something from Nikon that can do everything in the modern media age. If you're a modern content creator and you're someone doing a lot with photo, a lot with video, and you're wearing a lot of different hats, this is finally something that does everything you need it to do. And bravo to Nikon for finally getting it right. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about something else about this camera that I find really interesting, but before I do, I want to thank our sponsor today, Cuts. If you follow me on social media and watch these videos consistently, I guarantee you have seen me wearing Cuts. Cuts is my favorite brand because they are dedicated to providing premium quality products to men and now women, regardless of the situation that you are wearing them in. Cuts is constantly innovating and adding new items to their line. They recently added shorts as well as outerwear as well as button downs. Cuts has something for everyone. And my favorite thing about Cuts is no matter where you're wearing it, to the gym, a business meeting, recording a YouTube video, you're on a date, you are going to look your best. And when you look your best, you feel your best and you get the most out of life. My personal favorite product is their sweatsuits as well as their elongated t-shirts. I wore an elongated t-shirt the entire time I was in Utah and it was comfortable, I looked good, and the photos came out amazing. But don't take my word for it. Try Cuts for yourself. They're hooking up everybody with 15% off. Just go to the link in the description down below. Thank you, Cuts, for sponsoring today's video. Now, what's so interesting to me about this camera is the fact that its reviews have been stellar. Other YouTubers have talked great things about it. I really enjoyed it. I think it got ranked the best camera of 2021, and no one can get their hands on them because of the chip shortage happening right now. Nikon cannot keep up with the demands to produce this camera, which is really unfortunate. Imagine hitting a home run in batting practice and then you can't hit one during the game. That's maybe a terrible example because eventually these will be available, but I offered to buy one directly from Nikon and they told me they wouldn't even be able to do that when I had the direct access plug. So it could be a while before these are readily available, and that's very unfortunate, but I am going to be getting one of these. This is going to be my main content driving camera. It's what I'm going to use for this YouTube channel, Instagram content, Instagram Reels, and it's the camera that I'm going to be able to pass off to somebody finally and have them create for me, even if they don't have a ton of video experience. This camera is extremely high tech, but is actually fairly easy to use. The autofocus is on point. If you know how to set it up, you can just pass it off to somebody and they can create media for you, which is going to be huge for anyone working with a small staff or someone who maybe has a team of people who are wearing multiple hats. This is like the Swiss Army knife of cameras, and it does everything right. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my personal anecdotes in here because I do think it's important, even though it might not be something that Nikon necessarily loves. I wanna make it explicitly clear that this is not the best in every single area. There's obviously better video cameras out there. There's obviously better photo cameras out there. If I'm being 100% transparent, I prefer the photos I get from my Leica SL2 to this camera. I think those photos are better. But the Leica SL2 is not something that I can create all the media I need with it. It's not something I can use with my merch brand, with my brand, with this YouTube channel all the time. And that is why this is so valuable. You know, if you're somebody who is moving into this new media space and someone who needs something that does everything, Nikon has finally created something up to par with all their competitors. And as a Nikon former user, someone who still kind of uses their cameras, it's refreshing. And I think it's great, and it's going to bring a lot of people back into the brand, and it's also going to bring a lot of new early creators into the brand who otherwise would have looked to other ones. So for me, Nikon crushed it. They knocked it out of the park with this camera, and I cannot wait to get my hands on one more. I think my favorite photo from this whole experience was... It's hard to say, but I do love going back to the Marriott Marquis. I hadn't been there in a really long time. Those photos came out great. I think my favorite one, though, on the entire day is really that one where the person's on the scooter in the street. That one's just fundamentally such a perfect street photo, and this is a terrible street photography camera. I should also say that straight away. You guys are lucky I even made that part of the video. I really did not want to do that. I felt so out of place carrying this thing around. Also considering it's not my camera, you know, it's a very expensive piece of equipment to just have out in downtown Atlanta. So I hope you appreciated that part of the video and you enjoyed it. Car photos, as always, are fire. I always go to that place to check out new cameras and test them. I think my favorite one from there, though, is that blue Bronco. That car was sick. That right there is my very brief, not technical review of the Nikon Z9. Some thoughts about it. Can't wait to get my hands on one of these. Let me know your thoughts about this camera in the comments. And if you enjoyed the photos and you want more photography content from this channel, please let me know in the comments as well. Thumbs up, subscribe. See you next time.